Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie vlog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. And today we've actually got a few stories that I do feel connect with each other. First of which is that apparently Alamo Drafthouse Arizona has indeed filed for bankruptcy. Now this is something that I think many of us suspected was likely going to happen with some theater chains. I was suspecting to hear it from AMC first, or maybe a Regal or a Cinemark, but it looks like the lower tiered theaters, and by lower tier I don't mean to say that they're lower in quality, but obviously the number of theaters is significantly less than the other theater chains that I've already mentioned, and Alamo Drafthouse is definitely in one of those chains. And so it's interesting that it's specifically the theaters in Arizona that have filed for bankruptcy, and I would not be surprised if in the next month or two, especially since they've already announced theaters will probably not reopen in the United States until around July at best at this situation at this time. Things are really not looking good for the movie theater chains overall, especially for places like AMC that were already in financial straits long before everything started happening with the COVID outbreak. And so let's go ahead and dive into this article real quick before I get into a couple other things that I think could potentially be good news for Alamo Drafthouse and other theater chains, because even if you file for bankruptcy, that does not mean that your company is done. It just means that you are now going to restructure your company, which is going to have a major impact on your business, how you run things, absolutely, but it does still keep you alive for some foreseeable future. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So the franchise owner of Alamo Drafthouse's 3 dine-in movie theaters in Arizona, as I said, much smaller chain over here, has filed for Chapter 11 amid the impact from exhibitions' nationwide closure during the CV pandemic. The filing only pertains to the Phoenix-based franchise of Alamo Drafthouse in Tempe, Gilbert, and Chandler, not the other corporate-owned theaters of Austin and Texas chains. So it looks like we are not seeing a filing for bankruptcy for the main, or at least the first Alamo Drafthouse theaters that were originally in Texas. So it looks like the company overall is still intact for the most part. I do think it's interesting seeing that it is technically the same chain, that you wouldn't have the entire company file for bankruptcy. I don't really know exactly how their structure is. I imagine that they have one giant head of the Alamo Drafthouse, and then they basically license out the theaters so that people can open them in a wide variety of states, and then there's one individual in charge of a particular state's group of draft houses. And so my guess is that the leader of the Arizona theaters is the one here who has some type of autonomy from the main bank in Texas. And that's the only thing I can really see as to why they're able to file for Chapter 11, and it's not the entire Alamo Drafthouse that's filing, but still, it is definitely serious times for movie theaters. The owner of the 3 ventures, Craig Pashish, made the news public in the Arizona Republic yesterday. The owner hopes that they eventually reopen. Pashish is reportedly working with Alamo HQ to figure out the theater's next steps and to financially reorganize. I'm sad to confirm that due to the impact of COVID shutdowns, our 3 Alamo Drafthouse franchise locations in the Phoenix area have been forced to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Our intention is to use this opportunity to reorganize our finances and plan for the road ahead. We are also currently working closely with the corporate team in Austin to determine our next steps. We've been privileged to have spent the last 4 years sharing the films we love with our friends in the Phoenix region, and we hope that taking these steps will put us on track to continue in the future. And I'm hoping for the same thing, because everything I've ever heard about Alamo Drafthouse has been positive. I've never actually been able to go to one myself, but I hear that the experience is actually pretty good. You have very comfortable seating arrangements. They have certain restrictions on use of cell phones and things like that. They're a lot more strict with things like that so that you can actually enjoy the movies that you get to go to, as well as being able to enjoy that atmosphere of being able to get food and drinks, etc. And so I really hope that filing for Chapter 11 and the opportunity that they get to reorganize their structure financially will help them out. And I think there is indeed some light at the end of this tunnel, because if we are to believe the future of the summer box office, there is potentially one film and also a group of theater goers that could potentially bring places like Alamo Drafthouse, AMC, and Regal back to, maybe not former glory, but at least back to basic operation. And that, of course, is talking here about Tenet. So is Tenet still going to get its July 17th release? The one person in my mind who at this point can really save a lot of theater chains, maybe not all theaters, but at least a large portion of them, is Christopher Nolan. And the reason why is because he is right now the only major director, the only major filmmaker that's saying, this is when my movie's coming out. It has to be released in theaters. I'm not budging on this date. I really wish more filmmakers would say that and say, no, screw you, screw this nonsense, screw this authoritarian nonsense that's been going around our country for far too long at this point in time. We are going to have these theaters reopen. We are going to have our movies shown. Now, of course, the theater chains need to make that decision for themselves, but I know if I was a theater chain and I was just sitting there with property that wasn't producing any money, and I was told, wait a minute, one of the biggest films of this year is going to be released, and wait a minute, there's actually a large portion of moviegoers that want to return to theaters, these are all good things. This is the other story. The majority of moviegoers will return to cinemas if the guidelines are in place, an EDO survey says. Now, I believe it was the same survey not too long ago said that people most likely would wait about 2 to 3 weeks before going back to theaters. Now, this is definitely a shift in another direction. I think one of the reasons why you're seeing this shift is because people are just getting so tired of having to stay at home. People are just getting so tired of being in a position where some governors in certain states are just overstepping their bounds, overstepping the authority that they have, and people are getting pissed off about it. So I think that you're seeing this change of a general mindset of Americans, and that's what's leading to a lot of these changes. But at the same time, you do have a lot of people that still have calm heads, still are, rather sensible in saying, okay, well, I do think that it's important for theaters, especially having a closed room auditorium where air is being circulated around, people are coughing potentially. Again, places where people can get sick, as long as they're following guidelines, which, let's be honest here, movie theaters probably should have been following different guidelines for a long time now, because I, having worked at a theater, understand that we clean the theaters between screenings, but we don't wipe down the seats. We really don't, at least at the time, we didn't do anything really to take care of any germs or viruses. It's just sweeping up popcorn and picking up any loose beverage items and things like that. We would do things like that between screenings. Now, of course, with new guidelines in place, they're going to have to do a lot more. And I think this is actually for the betterment. And I think after everything with COVID calms down, I really hope that theater chains continue to do those practices, because it's just a good practice to do nonetheless, because even just the common cold or the common flu, I think are things that they could easily try and ramp down on by following these certain measures. But let's go ahead and dive into this. So this is an exclusive from Deadline. It says, good news for big circuits, AMC, Regal, Cinemark, and I would argue they're also Alamo Drafthouse, hoping to return to business in late June or early July. According to an updated EDO moviegoer study titled Movie Theaters and Social Distancing, 75% of respondents said they were more likely to return to cinemas upon their reopening when Tenet, Mulan, and Russell Crowe's Unhinged, I think I still need to do a trailer reaction on that movie because I've not seen the trailer myself, if movie theaters implement certain safety measures. So here you have, again, large people saying that they are highly likely or somewhat likely, and the people saying highly unlikely or somewhat unlikely are very, very low. And again, this is definitely a change from the previous study they did when the vast majority of people said that they would want to wait several weeks before going back to theaters. So let's dive into this. What cinema safety protocols would encourage moviegoers to head back sooner? A lopsided 91% said theaters should have hand sanitizer stations throughout the building, while 86% are in favor of limited showtimes to allow for extended cleaning times between screenings. Other factors encouraging the moviegoing population to come back include cinema employees wearing face masks, 77%, employees getting their temperatures checked before they work, 70%, and attendees also wearing face masks, 70%. Now, I have some problems with some of these safety measures, and again, if you take any of these measures out, that could easily impact the number of people that would want to go back versus people that wouldn't. But still, having a high number of 75% saying that they would go back with safety measures involved, and that does not specify which safety measures, whether it's all of them or just some of them, I imagine that having that high of a number, it would be some type of safety measures put in place. But when you're saying you have to take the temperature of people that work there, and you have to force people to come in with face masks, that's the kind of stuff that I'm not personally on board with. But then again, if I have to wear a face mask to go watch a movie again, if I had to go wear a face mask to go watch Tenet on the big screen when it opens in July, I'm going to do that because I really want to see that movie. I'm a huge fan of Christopher Nolan, and the fact that he might possibly be the person that single-handedly reopens theaters sooner rather than later and could potentially save theaters like Alamo Drafthouse and so many others that are struggling right now, I'm going to do whatever I have to do within reason, of course. If they're going to start taking my temperature at the door, that's when I'm going to be like, yeah, you know what? That's a little bit too authoritarian for me, especially with the fact that, yeah, you might be cleaning it between screens, but are you really focusing on having all the light bulbs in your screens being perfect and not flickering? Cannot tell you how many times I've gone to a theater and had that problem. Are you actually going to start enforcing people being on their cell phones? Are you going to have people in the screen itself? Right? I think it's something that a lot of people have been wanting a long time, is having a person dedicated to a screen. Now, obviously, that's going to cost money, and no theater actually, wants to, or any business for that matter, wants to waste money that they don't have to. But I think having things like that to try and raise the experience level and try and improve the experience of going to an actual movie theater might be what they have to do. Again, in addition to some of these safety measures, I do agree. The one thing on here that I'm actually fully on board with is having less show times, so that way you have a larger stretch between screens and then can get those theaters clean. Because again, working at a movie theater, oftentimes the show times left maybe 10 to 15 minutes of being able to clean a screen before people started to file in for the next movie. If you had that instead be between 30 and 45 minutes between screens before people started to actually file in, and you actually had ropes outside of the theaters, because sometimes there's certain screens where you don't have that rope that can close off people from entering, but having something like that where you actually can legitimately clean the screens more. And I think in addition to that, companies are going to have to raise the amount they pay their workers, since they're asking their workers to do more. Those are things I think that they should not only do now, but also continue to do in the future, because I think it would just make a better movie-going experience all the way around. But anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Are you one of those people? Again, I know I'm in that 75% and probably higher, because I would love to just go back to the theaters. Again, even if they did not implement these safety measures, I personally would probably still go. Again, that's just my own personal choice. However, I do think that some of these measures, like cleaning between screens and having less show times to give them more time to clean, are sensible measures to do. Now, taking the temperatures and wearing the face mask, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, is that really going to be that much of a benefit? Again, I think the studies on that are still kind of mixed depending on what you're talking about, but it's really encouraging to see that a large portion now, a vast majority of people who want to go to the movies or who are moviegoers are willing to go back to the screens. And I would not be surprised if that 25% that would say no are probably the elderly, because let's also be honest here, who are, I think, a large portion of the movie-going fan base. It is older people, right? Who goes to see movies during the week? It's the retired. It's the people that are more susceptible to getting infections and catching these things and being more impacted by them. And so it makes sense to me that even with safety measures, they would be more hesitant to say, yeah, I don't really think I want to leave my home quite yet. Even though I am a moviegoer and would love to go back, there's still a little bit more that they're going to wait for. So what are your thoughts about this? And also, Alamo Drafthouse, have you ever been to one? Let me know your experience about these in the comment section below. And also, of course, do you think that Tenet could potentially be the movie that saves movie theater chains? Or at the very least, is that spark that sets the fire to keep them going? Again, I already have said this previously, movie theaters are a dying breed. Again, it's not going to be long before movie theaters go out the door. But I'm hoping that they can last just a little bit longer and try and innovate and do some really cool things. But that can't happen unless they're able to open, and it looks like unless they implement safety measures. So let me know your thoughts about this and everything we talked about in the comments section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe. It helps out a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless. And now a huge shout out to my May Patreon and Subscribe Star members: Albertus Magnus, Animation Commentator Brian P, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Weeder Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunker Chunker Funker Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, The DJD Show, and Tina B. Thank you all for being my Patreon members, and a shout out to my Subscribe Star peeps: John B, Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J. Rod the Beer Guru, Nevadon G. Adams, and ZK Man. And a special shout out to David Bobrizik and Edgardo Martinez. I'm going to leave that pause there just in case anyone decides to join for the month of May, because you can indeed join on Patreon or Subscribe Star at any time this month to be eligible for any of the perks. They include access to an exclusive podcast that I do with John, the Flick Pick of John Flickinger's fame, so make sure you go ahead and check that out at the $10 and up level. Also, if you Subscribe Star or Patreon at $5 or up, you have access to exclusive giveaways of 4K movies, digital films, and a bunch of other stuff in between as well. And if anything, you could at least give just anything that you really want to help support the channel, and it would really help me out a lot. It keeps the lights on, makes me able to continue to do this kind of stuff. So anything you possibly give, check out some more information in the description of the Patreon, Subscribe Star, and of course YouTube membership links as well. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.